Yo, what's up, guys? This is Fariko. Sorry I haven't uploaded a video lately, especially after UMG Philly. I've been pretty busy with my real job, and I really had many thoughts, as well as the fallout from UMG Philly has been pretty much astronomical, unprecedented in Call of Duty history. So let's get started with UMG Philly. Obviously, Complexity's reign of terror is continuing. They've won, I think, 9 out of 10. They won the first two LAN events for Ghost. And they pretty much look unstoppable right now with the addition of Karma. They haven't missed a beat. Obviously, Clayster is a very clutch player, but Karma is just continuing. I mean, obviously, he's at Clayster's level or maybe even beyond. So Complexity right now looks like a juggernaut. They have their organization, the coach, the players, and they're going to be tough to beat. So the other thing I wanted to touch on was, obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the Optic trauma is crazy right now. So after UMG Philly, the biggest shocker obviously was that Scumpii decided to leave Optic out of anger and decided to join Envious. Now, this is great for Envious. I always felt like they needed a top slayer on that team to be competitive, and now they finally have it in Scumpii. Rambo decided to retire and be coach, which I believe is a smart move because I think he should stay with that organization and lend his wealth of knowledge that he has in the game for as a player, and having experienced so many different types of CODs, and has won in COD, and is such a smart player and strategist that I think he'll bring a lot to the table. Now, so that left Optic in a predicament because they were planning on just adding one person after BigTymer left, and in their mind, their top player on their list was Clayster. And so you might have had a team of Clayster, Ricky, Scumpii, and Nadeshot, but that wasn't to be after Scumpii left. So they still decided to go after Clayster, and Clayster told him he'll think about it, but he eventually decided to join. But that still left a roster spot open, and I think they were considering Saints. They were considering Killa, which I found it pretty amazing that they would think about that. But in some ways, I think Optic has come to the realization that in some ways, you can't let. I mean, it's about winning at this point. I think that's what they've come to realize. They want to win, and they want proven winners on the roster. And one person they didn't have on their list was Parasite, but he wrote an apology to Hex because they had some beef with each other. And Parasite actually reached out to Optic and asked if he could join. And, of course, Parasite is one of the top players, and Hex decided to bury the past, let bygones be bygones, and offered a position on Optic. So now you have a roster of Parasite, Clayster, Ricky, and Nadeshot. Now, some may think, wow, this might be dysfunctional. How is this going to work? But let me tell you something. Except Nadeshot, Ricky, Clayster, and Parasite are in the top 5 in Search and Destroy. Nadeshot, pretty close to top 5. Search and Destroy is Nadeshot's strongest game mode. This team will be one of the hardest teams to beat in Search and Destroy. The only way they're gonna lose is if they make a mistake, not because the other team is making plays. That's how good this team is gonna be in Search and Destroy. Now, obviously, they're gonna have to work on blitz and domination, but I think this team is gonna do really well. Now, will they, be able to beat Complexity? I mean, who can really say? Like, the roster has the talent, but it's just the chemistry and how how things are gonna look. Now, the last thing I want to touch upon is why so many roster changes. Why does Call of Duty esports competitive scene? Why is there so many roster changes? Obviously, more recently there's been more roster changes, and a lot of that has to do with complexity. Complexity has been winning so many of these events that teams are just scrambling to figure out the right combination of players to compete and actually contend for a championship. It's sort of unprecedented that one team has dominated for this long, and teams are just sort of trying to figure things out. The other factor obviously is that there's not a lot of money involved in COD competitive. It's not a lot. So for somebody to leave a team, they're not really giving up much. I mean, the only really organization that you would maybe leave a lot of money on the table would be Optic. That would really be the only organization. Not even Complexity rewards their players, to really make it a viable career. And so you have the combination of the fact that Complexity's been dominating. You have the combination factor of the fact that there's not a whole lot of money to risk to move. And the other thing is, when you move teams, you're not really moving anything. All you're doing is saying, hey, I'm moving from this team to the other team. You're not really moving your equipment. You're not relocating your life. I mean, obviously, like Team Envious House and Optic House, people have left to, go live there. But for the most part, pretty much everyone else, all you're doing is just saying, hey, I'm moving teams, and that's it. You don't really have to physically move anything. Most of the stuff is played online as far as scrims and, practices and whatnot. But as far as, where you actually live and whatnot, where you actually live, you're not really changing anything. So it doesn't take a whole lot to move. And the last factor is that, remember, these are a lot of them are kids. They're not, even adults yet. And so, I'm not saying just because they're kids, they're not as committed to an organization or will show loyalty. I'm not saying that, but youth definitely comes into a factor. I forgot. There's one more reason why recently there's been so many changes. It's because of COD championships. Infinity Ward, Activision, Microsoft announced that they're gonna have a $1 million tournament in Los Angeles at the end of March. I think it's March 28th through the 31st, I think. And you have to be 18. And, a lot of players are not 18. So they had to drop them, unfortunately. Like, I think Face Methods got dropped. Denial John from Denial, he wasn't 18, so there's the age factor made a impact as well. So there's so many reasons why reasons for roster changes, but besides COD championships, it's pretty much the fact that this is a virtual sport. There's no physical movement. You have the youth. There's a lack of money. There's a lack of contracts. So, it's sort of to be expected. But in order for the sport to grow, you have to have teams that stay together to create a brand. Anyways, this is Fariko. See you guys later.